Next on the agenda is BPAC Greenway Presentation. Carrie Allen from BPAC is here to go through the presentation. You do have in the package as well.
Good morning. Thank you for putting me on the agenda. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm representing BPAC. Paul is in the audience. Denny is in the audience. Other BPAC members are either out of the country or at work. This precedes any of us because we're all pretty new members. Maybe 5 years ago, before I was here, the BPAC members put a route together. That was fortuitous because that route made it into the plan of conservation and development. So what I'm presenting is really already here, but only on paper. And it was deemed in the plan of conservation and development BPAC's task to take this on as a priority. And so we have. Our own history, this iteration, started with Bruce Farmer, November of 2016. I think the third time he asked us, we agreed to do it. Because a bicycle and pedestrian path is a no-brainer for a bicycle and pedestrian committee. Of course we should do that. And it would have been hard to accept it because this is a hard task to do. If you can just look at the news from Guilford, Shoreline Greenway, they've had a lot of pushback. In Clinton, we're very lucky because we have BPAC. As a matter of fact, I believe it's Branford, Guilford, and Madison have since formed one of these committees because they realize that you really have to work with the town in order to get it done. I say that this path is not going to cost the taxpayers any money. But in a sense, that's not true, because I've already taken great advantage of the wonderful services in this town. I can't thank Sharon and the town clerk's office enough. I would have never found what I found. I can't thank land use enough. Carol saw how many times I was in there and how much support I got. The chief of police walked the path with us. The chief of police suggested we go down to the dock. I'm saying that now because there's a little kickback on, is it kickback? Pushback on social media saying, that's crazy, that's dangerous. There are people pulling boats in the summertime. It was the chief of police who very much wanted us to go down there because he finds that a very underappreciated, underused gym in Clinton, the town. So we put it on the path. We used a lot of different ideas, a lot of different people's advice before we put up our trail. Last but not least, Pete Neff, nothing would be possible. He's the king of the road. He knows them all. And he has kindly agreed to put the signs up for us, which is tremendous. And also I feel that you must know that he's the best of hands for this. And the signs would go in the appropriate places. All right. A number of people in our group believe that there are already too many signs in town. We're going to be pretty minimalist about it, the signs. We're going to put up as few as we need. And also we'll have the maps online, and so many people deal with that now. So, so many people have put into this, including who was once a private citizen and now is the first select woman who designed the sign. And that is our sign. The Clinton Greenway Blueway. And I call it a town trail because that's really what it is. It's going through town. It's utilizing our own roads. It's our own infrastructure. As Eric Knapp said, and I wanted to embroider it on a pillow, we're not asking to do anything we can't already do. This is Greenway and Blueway. From what I understand, it's Al Walker, who was the brainchild of the Greenway. This will be something that nobody else has. And it's something that's so easy for us to do. So, connecting town to town, home to shop, history to natural beauty, and people to people. Here is the map. I'm sorry I can't make it bigger. It's on BPAC's Facebook page, and I'd be happy to tell you what that address is when we're finished. The Clinton Greenway Blueway in its completed form, which includes both Phase 1 and Phase 2. For those of you who can't read, the green is Phase 1 and the yellow is Phase 2. The blue is a Blueway. It runs 5.5 miles, that's one way. Round trip, it would be 11 miles. And it connects residents to both Madison and Westbrook. I've spoken with Judy Miller, who's the chairwoman of the Shoreline Greenway. She's very happy to do this. As a matter of fact, she liked our trail so much, she wanted us to be part of the Shoreline Greenway. She wanted to change the bylaws to include us. She was impressed. That's how I knew the trail was a good trail. Administratively, this trail already exists on the POCD, the Plan of Conservation and Development. It is important for our goal of transit-oriented development, and it will make us eligible for more grant opportunities, and we will get a lot more attention to it. On a more personal level, I'm sorry. On a more personal level, the CGB will gain us attention on the shoreline, reintroduce residents to the beauty and recreational opportunities that surround us, and provide a platform on which to host future events. Connecting with Madison. In Phase 2, we plan to use Route 1 as our connection to Madison. We could do that now in Phase 1, except for one problem, and that I'm about to discuss. The shoulder, for the most part, is a wide one, but for the inexperienced or young rider, I ride this all the time. We would all ride this. Paul rides it. But if you're a 6-year-old kid, and I think I want this to be for children. I want kids to enjoy this. I want to be able to see kids riding around outside and enjoying themselves. It's too dangerous in front of McDonald's, because that wide shoulder becomes 2 lanes and no shoulder. And so I feel that we have to work with the state, and we have to work with the state through you in order to make amendments. There was a Route 1 corridor study. This was part of the result. They wanted this to happen as well. But I understand it's a very, very hard thing to do, but there's no way I would put a sign up now and have a small child following her parents and get hurt. Because you'd have to be an experienced bike rider to know to stay in the middle lane and go forward rather than get into the right turn lane, okay? I'm sorry to do that. I hate to start on a negative note, but it would just be too dangerous now to sign it. Peter Richards of Clinton Nurseries, who introduced BPAC to the remnants of the trolley line. I was not aware of that. Has suggested that the portion of trolley line on the Richards property be designated open space and used as part of the Greenway when that property is redeveloped. When that happens, we can avoid a great deal of Route 1. Anyone who knows the area, we can go down to Williams and then use that entire trolley line. For now, Phase 1's western trailhead will be, I hate to say it, in the Ocean State Job Lot parking area. But I say it because when I made this initial presentation in February of last year, people ask me where the parking is because they want to drive their car with their bike on it and then take the bike off. Because who knows where they're coming from. So we worked hard to provide parking. I've spoken with them, the manager in Rhode Island, and they have agreed to temporary permission of parking in the northeastern corner. The reason I say temporary is I did this a while ago. I will make that phone call again. At that point, from that point, the northeastern edge, there is a sidewalk and there is a wide shoulder. So we can take our bikes off the car. follow that wide shoulder, and it's only 100 yards to Maple. And Maple Avenue is where we would head south. At the end of Maple Avenue, may I ask someone to, Sherry, would you mind? That'd be great, because I keep interrupting.
Hey Carrie, while you have that slide up.
Can I go back?
Yeah, why don't you show folks where the people have to ride, where the 6-year-old, because that's the entrance to Job Lot.
Yep.
And you.
This is a problem. I call it in front of McDonald's, but it's actually.
And that's for right-hand turn only on
Yes.
the right-hand side. So show folks where a 6-year-old would have to ride on the road.
This is where
Yeah,
adults
right.
ride. This is where we have to ride, following the rules of
To
the
follow
road.
the law.
But we would never want a young child to.
Without a
I would.
sidewalk.
I would.
That's why we're starting on the upper side.
Exactly. Now, on the north side of the road, the shoulder's wide enough to actually be signed all the way to Madison. But it seems like it wouldn't be symmetric in that case, so we'll wait. Thanks, Pat.
Next slide.
So we're-
Make that wider,
We can turn off more lights.
Is that level?
This is, that's it. Okay. So, heading south on Maple, which is the only way you can head. At the end, there's a small parking area there. I've gotten in touch with Jamie Lindner of Eversource. He is the liaison of Eversource Greenways, which is amazing they have someone like that. I think I should talk to him more often. He gave us permission to use this little parking area also. It's not lined, it's a dirt lot, maybe 4 or 5 cars can park there. So here we are at the head of our old trolley line, and I don't know if everybody knows about it. I certainly didn't before I started this. This electric trolley line ran all the way to the river. And it ends on Stevens. It had gone to Stevens to Route 1 and followed there. This is a, why didn't I read my writing? South on Maple Avenue, the trail runs to the end of this quiet sidewalk street. On the left, there is a vestige of the old electric trolley line, which we will use to access Grove Street. The trolley line is a raised bed of packed earth, which we will clear of debris and maintain from April through October. A directional sign will be placed at either end of the trolley line to direct the traveler. Another great service of DPW is that they have offered to clear this area. In all the time I've known it, it has remained fairly clear. I'll ask you to visit it, it's very hard to describe. I had to ask inland wetlands to use it because there's a very small amount of wetland area at the far eastern end. I know you wouldn't know it to see it, but it's on the map. And they said, of course you can use it, but under no circumstances can you cover it with anything. Not with wood chips, not with stone. And in a sense, that was a relief because it's cheaper. And it is packed earth now. I already ride on my street bike, which is a very thin tired thing, rather than the other bikes that, so it is traversable now. That ends on Grove Street. Next slide, please. On Grove Street, there is a curb, and that is a fairly dangerous area because I find when I come out on my bike, cars go very fast. They go very fast everywhere, but they certainly don't expect us to be there. And so I've asked the police commission and the chief of police if he would agree to do a crosswalk there, and they did. And Pete Neff has agreed to remove the curb, because obviously you're not going to go over a curb and end up very well. So at the end, we will cross over the crosswalk, because on that side, well, the pedestrian will cross over the crosswalk, because on that side are the sidewalks. The bicyclists will be separated from the walkers. We will ride on the street. This wide tree-lined road is complete with a sidewalk, so the walker and runner are separated from the cyclist. The trail will head south until Grove Street ends in the half circle with Commerce. I'm not going to bother with the proposed action items because I imagine we're going to have to sit down in the future sometime and see that. And it's more detailed than perhaps the audience is. Thanks, Mom. Here's the first access. We're down at the dock for the Clinton Blueway. Harborside Marina offers boat rentals. The town dock features public launch facilities. In this area, there are benches and restaurants, food trucks, and in the future, bike racks, so that those riding the trail can park, rest, and take advantage of the area. All right, so this is where the Blueway kicks in. The idea is we can ride or walk, park our bikes, and we can go into Harborside or with our own kayaks. I don't know what the situation is. We can get off of our bikes, we can get into a boat, and we can paddle around. It's a really terrific afternoon for a family and an affordable one too. Beautiful opportunity. Next, please. So as we come down to the end, at Half Moon, where Lobster Landing is, we simply go right back around, up Commerce. The trail continues up north. It's a quiet, wide, tree-lined street with sidewalks, and it's the beginning of the heart of Clinton history. We are working with a historical society to create a walking, biking tour of the area to add yet another dimension to the trail and to the community. Commerce Street is also the second access point for the traveler heading east to the Clinton Blueway, insofar as the Indian River Marina also rents kayaks and paddleboards for a completely different view of the Clinton Harbor via the Indian River. Chris Burke, he has kindly offered to discounts for anyone who takes their bikes in and rents a boat from him. Just support from the community. Next, please. The combination of our Greenway and Blueway will draw attention to the fact that in Clinton, we have the luxury of taking a walk or bike ride to the Sound in the rivers or the beach, where we can paddle around our protected harbor. Clinton will be the only Greenway Blueway we know of in the state. And trust me, that's going to get attention. Okay, here comes the tricky part. Again, as an adult, I will ride my bike in the street. When I get to the end of Commerce, I will take a right because I feel I know what I'm doing. And I will go straight down the road. But again, they're children. And honestly, this is who it's for. I would not want, this is a very, very narrow portion of Route 1, and I would not take a child down here. So, we have proposed walk your bike signs at either end of this portion of Route 1 in front of the businesses. So children can walk their bicycles down the street, sidewalk. We say walk your bike because there's a big issue with Cindy Stevens. I think if anybody's been down there, they've seen the signs that she's erected in the middle of the sidewalk. There are a lot of problems. People fly by, it seems, on their bikes and put her customers, some of whom are children, in danger because they walk out the door and a bike comes flying by. So that's our reasoning. Somebody asked on a Facebook page, why? That's why. All right. A turn from Commerce onto Route 1 will take the traveler through the heart of Clinton along the sidewalk and past businesses which are currently less frequented than business owners wish. Benches and restaurants line the street which will give the traveler a chance to stop and enjoy town amenities. The path will lead across the Indian River and into our beautiful town hall property. All right, when we get to town hall, the walker can take that lovely wide sidewalk to the right of the annex. Next one. And as far as the bicyclist goes, although the police chief would really like us off of the roads and all possibilities, maybe we can talk about using that sidewalk as multimodal, maybe. It's a possibility. But getting into town hall for the bicyclists now will require stencils. Going into a parking lot is a real danger because it's a place for cars. Town hall is the third access point for the Blueway. The dock serves as a launch, and there's boat storage at the site. Benches and picnic tables line the river. The gazebo offers shade and picnic opportunities for the traveler. Once at the gazebo, the trail work will continue for both bicyclists and pedestrian on the south side of the split rail fence. It leads either into the Elliott property where there is a loop to walk, or if you want to bicycle, we have gotten permission from Land Trust. But it's a rough road. It would require a bike that I don't ride, or a lot of strength. But it's there, and it's beautiful, and it's part of town, and it's something we're proud of, and it's something that we wanted to put on to the trail. All right? Let me catch up with myself. I think I mentioned that. So, when we get to that portion on the eastern side of the parking lot, there's an easement along Lucy Elliott's home. The walker can use that easement, and the bicyclist will hopefully have lanes, stencils to let riders, car drivers know that we're there too. Okay, I think you've all seen the stencils that we can spray paint onto the parking lot. So now we're taking back up to Route 1 at the next slide. And we have 100 yards to go down Route 1, 2/10 of a mile. I don't know if it's 100 yards, I'm sorry, it's 2/10 of a mile though, down to Waterside Lane. We get to Waterside Lane, and we all know it, beautiful, narrow street, but it has a sidewalk again. And we can go to the next one, please, Paul. The walkers, pedestrians will be able to use the sidewalks. We will, as bicyclists, be out on the streets, being very careful because it is narrow. So it will take us down to the end, and I think everybody knows we will take a left on the next slide through the park, beside the park, over the wooden bridge. The trail continues down to the bottom of the lane, around the small park, over the wooden bridge into the beach. At the town beach, we find the final access point to the Blue Way, a concession stand, rest and changing rooms, a splash pad, playground, benches, a bike rack, picnic tables, and trails between the river and the sound. A Clinton jewel, which is the perfect beginning and end to phase 1 of the future Clinton Greenway. Next slide, please. Economic impacts. According to American Trails, there are many ways that trails and greenways positively affect the local and national economies, including tourism, events, urban redevelopment, community improvement, property value, healthcare savings, jobs, investments, general consumer spending. But according to Clinton Boy Scout Troop 7 and the 4th grade class of Pearson School, the greatest advantage of the Clinton Greenway will be the annual Blue Way 5K in the autumn, and the annual Blue Way Triathlon for kids, where they'll run, bike, and then paddle across the Clinton Harbor and beach to celebrate Clinton, Independence Day, and the sheer thrill of being a child in the summertime. And I would have loved to stop there because it's very poetic, but I'm going to keep going. I've got just 2 more slides there. Here we have our first thoughts on where to place the signs, and there will be more discussion on that. But phase 1 of the CGD simply involved the purchase and placement of approximately 20 signs. We already have half of the funding. Clinton could effectively have a greenway by this summer, and an annual summer outside school program could begin. Just one of several events that will revolve around the shoreline's smallest and longest portion of Greenway. The planning of this trail has brought unlike minds together, and once built, events will bring out the larger community. On a daily basis, the path will serve as a silent reminder of the beauty and opportunities that surround us. And then finally, something that you don't have in your packet because I never stopped tweaking this thing. Next slide, last slide. This is from our publication of the Clinton's Plan of Conservation and Development. The trail that I just spoke of is already there. It's on paper. As far as the west end, quote, a greenway through this area could include a pedestrian bridge or walkway over the river. That's a dream that I have that I didn't bring up. And follow the former trolley line to Stevens Road. Working with Madison and regional groups could encourage a network of pedestrian and bicycle paths. That's page 86. They also, on page 87, most residents, however, are interested in seeing conservation efforts undertaken along the Hammonasset River. Recreational opportunities could be created, as was suggested at the charrette, like the development of a greenway that would include bicycle and walking paths connecting to Madison. On page 79, to the dock area, quote, in addition, streetscape design to facilitate pedestrian and bicycle connectivity from Route 1 down Grove and Commerce Streets, slowing existing traffic movement is encouraged. These are all people's wishes that made it into the plan. As of the town dock on page 77, Clinton residents feel strongly that the area should be developed to cater to potential tourists, as the shoreline is one of Clinton's best natural features. Recreational uses such as pedestrian and bicycle walkways connecting to the Hammonasset River and kayak and paddle boat rentals were also suggested. The addition of bike lanes, sidewalks, and other walkability techniques along the shoreline is also something which residents expect interest. As far as going into town, quote, finally, creating continued connectivity along Route 1 from the village zone with the addition of a complete pedestrian and bicycle network by the town and the state of Connecticut would enhance Route 1. And then finally, quote, at the charrette, many residents expressed concerns with lack of sidewalks and bicycle lanes throughout town. Along the same lines, several more were concerned with safety and connectivity around the larger thoroughfares. Recreational opportunities stemming from downtown and along the shoreline resonated with many attendees. Such comments demonstrate support for an underserved conservation and recreational opportunity that should be a priority for BPAC. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Yes,
Sure. First of all, this is wonderful in my opinion. Currently, you hit the lights.
Yeah, we got it. We can't talk about that.
This is terrific. You've done a hell of a job. I mean, this is really unbelievable. I haven't been really close to this at all. And, the amount of detail, the amount of work, Carrie and the BPAC and other, and all you good folks. You know, it's really terrific. And I certainly see the benefits of it. So I congratulate you for that. Just a couple of questions. In the Elliott Preserve, it's a loop trail. You can't go through to anything.
we would really like that to be true, but maybe in the future, one day there'll be easements in which we could go through. And there's talk about even being able to build a bridge from the end of Morgan onto Waterside, but that's the future. But we can't have a future if we don't have a present. And this is the beginning of what we will build onto.
Okay, and phase two, I know there's some issues with that.
There are.
What,
Yes, there is a community, well, there are a couple of them. One of the biggest issue that I see is there's an easement that I have to get first. Because at the end of the town beach, that's private property. And despite the fact that we all walk that all the time through the reeds, there's a path, a worn path, that belongs to a private citizen. And I have sat down and spoken with him once and asked only did he not say no the first time. And that I would come back. And I will do that. But Harborview Association also, a number of people there do not want us in there. Because they feel that there would be too many of us at any one time and we would litter and loiter and commit larceny. And I'm not making fun. But Paul put up this route of phase one on September 29th of last year. And it is a route that bicyclists look for. What can I ride today? What should I ride? It's a Garmin route. I don't think anyone has noticed 500 people riding our streets. And yet that route has been up. So I hope to assuage their concerns, but that is part of, that is, yes.
are there any estimates available of the usage, like a traffic count?
Shoreline Greenway does that. They just put one up last year, I believe. And, but that's such a different situation.
Yeah.
Because people drive their car there, they walk there, and then they walk back. So they get 2 people for every time they're counting. No, I can't even guess as to an estimate. But if this is allowed, I will be clear to be working hard on getting attention for this media.
So,
I already have a television, one of my BPAC members tells me that there's a woman on a television station who wants to do a story on this. Because this is a hard thing to do. And if Clinton passes this, Clinton deserves an incredible amount of credit because there's so many problems in some of these other towns. And they present a beautiful plan too. But sometimes one person can really rile up a whole bunch of people.
so it's phase 2 down the road, so to speak.
It is definitely down the road, though. I would like to put phase 1 up. I would like to order the signs. The signs are already, the East Coast signs already have the design. They've made a beautiful sign and a prototype of one. I've priced it, it's done the whole thing. I would like to put up phase 1 before I go and ask about an easement. And that would, so phase 2 is way down the road.
These signs are smaller than like a stop sign, right? They're smaller.
They can be whatever you want them to be. As long as they're square. They can be 6 by 6, they can be 7 by, no, actually, they don't make it. I think it's even numbers.
And Carrie, I'm sure you've investigated this, but the easement, I mean, that trail through the reeds for,
Yes, yes.
part of phase 2. Is there any property farther up from that the town might own now?
Now, that property goes right onto West.
Right, there's not, I mean, they own, do you ever?
He owns the entire marsh.
You're talking about that width? Well, I'm talking about if you could move it farther inland, would it be possible?
That's his too. That's his too. And to move,
I know, yeah, it's, oh, yeah, that's right, it's wet.
but the good news is, this same man has recently given 2 plots to the Lanterns.
Over there, in that area?
No,
Oh,
he has land everywhere.
Well, I think it's a great idea. My only concern is from Common Street to the Indian River, that's the center of town. It's highly congested.
Well, again, that's the walk your bike for children, or anybody can walk their
I'm
bike.
not concerned about experience,
Right.
for the young,
Hence the walk your bike on the side.
if they will.
I don't think any parent would let their child ride down that road on Route 1, I hope.
That's the only concern.
Okay, I'm concerned with one of the first things we would do is to put something into the, well, anywhere we could put it, whether it's Clinton Events or the Harbor News, as far as the rules.
So if you walk your bike, you can use your sidewalk, right?
People ride on it now, but we
Well,
really want to discourage that.
Isn't that illegal to ride your bike?
No, it's not. It's not, no. And the town of Clinton is not illegal, we have no laws. Madison has a law that in downtown they cannot ride their bike, but other sidewalks they can. And I think that that's not a bad idea, because we have underused expensive sidewalks.
And as far as this, you actually cannot preclude anybody from walking skating, whatever you're considered all users of the state DOT. Even though Madison has stated that you cannot enforce you are considered a user of your bicyclist in the same regard you are a user of your car.
I like to think, though, that if this were to be in effect, there would be more attention on people not riding their bikes on the sidewalk than there is now. We also have the police firmly behind us. The chief of police feels that this would be excellent for Clinton, and I believe that he would use his resources to help us.
The reason I asked about any kind of traffic studies is I would think there might be some people who think there's going to be hordes of people
And that's why I
coming
mentioned,
through, and
yeah,
I don't personally see it, but I'm no expert on any of this.
that's what I meant. Paul put up a route, Phase 1's route on September 29th of last year. So for serious bicyclists, this information has been in their hands since September 29th, and we have not seen a large number of people.
Can I ask, is the Clinton Green Blueway an entity? Are you an established, okay. So you're under the.
We are a
auspices-
501c3. We have established that, but we're under BPAC.
Okay.
BPAC. Because BPAC is doing several projects. There's a bridge on Green Pot Road that is going to be erected, and this is another. It all falls under the auspices of BPAC.
And safe routes to school.
Yep.
So part of this, this concept also ties into a big streets policy that I would like to see us adopt at some point, where you create a network where you're focusing your infrastructure needs in the community on a network within the community based on your areas of infrastructure, your municipal buildings, your schools, your commerce, so that you're making your investments in targeted area, you're creating connectivity, you're moving people throughout the community, safe along the way. So that's something that will come up. It's part of the Connecticut Sustainability Program, and we'll be talking more about it as months come up. Other questions?
I have a question.
Sorry, just take your name for the record.
I'm Nikki Davis, and I live on Leffingwell, so I just want to make a comment about the Commerce Street, which is, and I'm actually new to town. When you're, and this is about, and I love the idea, by the way, and I support the idea, I'm sorry. When you're coming up from Commerce Street on a bike, going towards Route 1, across from the post office, there's parking there on the right-hand side.
Yes.
And I think that's an issue now for cars, so I worry a little bit about that for bikes, because even yesterday, it was like I was in the right lane, there was like 2 lanes of traffic, and then until people ahead of me realized the car was parked on the right, and then everyone went around. So that's the only thing I'd be concerned about, is that, and I don't know if the town has even thought about that, but across from the post office, that right lane of,
Well, heading back the other direction is the same story, because remember, we would get to the light, because this is not a one-way thing.
right.
I presented it that way because it would be too confusing to do both. But again, when we're at the light, we take a crosswalk back if we're heading back in the other direction, and there's parking on that side too. And yes, that's a concern. I can't tell you how many concerns I have. I mean, there are a lot of people in cars who really misbehave. That's a concern. I would really like us to perhaps start looking at that and trying to make our town less about them and more about us.
That is a concern. I mean, I understand what you're talking about. I asked the police and traffic commission a year ago about that parking alongside Post Office Square, alongside that area. And if they just cut back the number of spaces by 2, it would make that
Right,
a
open
much
it up.
safer place to be. But in the meantime, bicycles will be crossing that entrance exit to CVS. Do you ever post things like caution, busy driveway ahead or anything like that? There's a lot of, there is a lot of usage. Oh, then yeah, CVS is there.
People will still use a parking lot, of course. But I would, whatever it is that you suggest, and your final.
That's, in tracing your, mentally tracing your route, that is the one, I mean, the one corridor that I would think would bear some concern. Because regardless, the bank is still there, and that drive-through is very used. But otherwise, the only other thing would be the town hall, and people would be entering there, so it's not the same issue at all. But, I mean, it's tough to draw the line between personal responsibility and town liability.
I can tell you one thing about town liability. There is a Connecticut statute that states that any use of property for a recreational trail that we do not charge for, it excludes you, is not the correct word, but you're no longer liable.
Excuses you.
From liability.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a statute.
Okay.
Chair, I just have one question for you. You mentioned that there would be no cost to the town for this. I think you mentioned that you've already gained some monies. How are you paying for this? Who's paying for this?
Well, that's something I'm not very good at, and I'd really like to find someone to help me raise money, but it's all from private individuals. And there are some people in this room who've already donated, and I would really welcome anyone else to.
How much cost the DPA?
You set up
Yes, it's set up.
oh, okay.
It's set up. And again, I imagine Eric O'Connell's been very generous with his paper space to us, and I will make this all public in the next article.
How about a GoFundMe?
That's what you said.
We have one other question, just state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Dave Brulette. I just wanted to commend you on a tremendous amount of work. And it's, you can tell you really love this project. I have just a couple of concerns that I think would enhance this whole thing. One is the parking. I've heard temporary, we don't have any permanent solution. And that's an issue to the success. If you're going to have success, you really need to work on that parking. As far as the liability, to ignore, because you don't have liability, not to be concerned with the safety would be a huge issue. And I think there are, as it was brought up, some huge safety issues. If you look at Route 1 in the summer, when it gets jammed up, you're right, cars don't even consider a motorcycle when they're driving, let alone a bike that children are on. So I think we've got to be really careful with where we go, what we do, because even though we're not responsible, we are responsible as adults. So the fact that there's a law that says we're not truly liable as a town, I think we really have to take that into consideration. And then lastly, the riding or walking on sidewalks, though it's another legal issue. When you put up a sign, you have a 10-year-old riding a bike, as you're thinking is going to happen, even a 14-year-old, they're not going to walk their bike there. I think we have to be concerned about pedestrians too. So, though there's a lot of hard work into this, I think you have a lot more hard work that needs to go into making sure it's successful, because there's nothing worse than starting a project and putting all the time and effort in and then not getting the results that we would like to see. So, so that's it. I guess a wise old man once told me, don't start fast projects that have fast ideas. So I think we got a little bit of work in it.
A great deal of our next step would include not only raising money, but educating the public to what we have.
Thank you for providing.
Sorry, I'm just going to take one more question, then we're going to get on with the meeting. What I'm going to before we get into questions, I'd like to get an endorsement from this board. We've gotten an endorsement thus far from our consultant planner via Planning and Zoning Commission endorsement. We've got an endorsement from EDC, our Economic Development Commission. We have an endorsement from the Clinton Parks and Recreation Department and board. We have obviously endorsement for the Shoreline Greenway Trail. We have an endorsement from the Connecticut River Area Health District and the Clinton Conservation Commission, as well as Partnerships and Strong Community, or Partners and Communities PIC.
Well, I'd like to make that motion to endorse this project. I know Carrie for years and years into this. She had an able partner who is no longer there, and it's a tough project. There's so many aspects, and Carrie has worked so hard to bring us to this point, and I'm very happy to see this happen. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, just in terms of discussion, yeah. Carrie is at love. I very much feel strongly about this Shoreline Greenway personally. Before I go with the selectmen, I think it's something that can really transform our community to a very healthy, resilient community, and will bring economic development to the downtown. Those people traveling through downtown, stopping, having breakfast, whatever, it's in your sites, getting a cup of coffee. I think this could be transformative for one. Yeah, sorry. All in favor? What my recommendation will be as well, I think we should probably schedule a public meeting, and we'll try to solicit the questions in advance, so we're able to answer those. So look for the date, we'll try to figure out a way to get those questions submitted, maybe on the town website. But for now, gentlemen in the back have another question.
Yeah, no, I just want to make a comment. I want to thank all the hard work that went into it. I own Kitty River Marine and Kayak, and I think it'd be great.
For the record, I'm sorry.
Chris Burke.
Thank you.
And I think it'd be great for the town. I think we have a beautiful town here and give more people an opportunity to explore it and visit. It's a win-win for everybody.
And I'm Jane, I think you had your.
I'm fine.
You okay? Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you for your application. We're going to move on to selectmen reports.